Ravi Venkatesan, former chairman of Microsoft, he's also had a stint with Cummins India, and he's on the board of Infosys and several other companies, but he's turned an author right now, Tanya.
Well, that's right. He's donning a brand new hat. He's got a book coming up on the 17th of June. It's called Conquering the Chaos, Win in India, Win Elsewhere. Without further ado, let's take it straight to Ravi and find out what really inspired him to write a book. Well, Ravi, I'd imagine all that corporate experience, you're putting it to good use.
Well, I hope so. You know, I came back to India in '96 and I found that I'd spent 15 years of my life helping build two very different businesses, one in engines, one in software. And I was intrigued by this question. Why, at the end of the day, are there so few really successful MNCs in India? You know, they're all here, but very few of them made India into an important market. And that includes really well-run companies like Apple, Toyota, Caterpillar. They're all part of what I call a 1% club, where India contributes about 1% of their global business. And I wondered why, and I thought I'd get to the root of the matter.
But you know, the reasons why, and the most obvious reason why MNCs believe they haven't been able to scale up in India is because of poor governance and lack of reforms. You know, so when the macro picture isn't that good, how easy is it to fix the micro picture?
Well, India is certainly a very hard market, and that is part of the answer. But in the very same industries, in the midst of the same chaos and corruption, a handful of companies have been able to create very, very successful businesses that are contributing 10, 15, 20% of the global growth to their parent companies.
Businesses like
FMCG. Yeah, so the farther away you are from the hand of government, the greater the probability of success. So where the government controls access to resources or contracts, it's the much harder going for any company, let alone MNCs. But you see, you know, in consumer businesses, industrial, B2B businesses, very nice examples, but they're the exception. So I don't think it's entirely fair to blame the market and the challenge of the market. I think companies have to also look in the mirror a little bit, which is what I hope this book will help do.
You know, your book's called Conquering the Chaos, Win in India, Win Everywhere. I have two questions. Conquering the chaos, so basically you're saying to us that there is a method to the madness here.
Yeah.
And win in India, win everywhere. So, you know, it's like saying, often when we talk amongst each other, we say, you know, if you know how to drive in India, you can drive anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Is that a little bit of what you're trying to say through this book?
Yes, one of the most interesting questions was very early in my sort of research and going around to companies and meeting global CEOs. They said, why bother? You know, the India story is completely lost its shine. Why does it matter whether we succeed here or not? You know, there's so many more interesting places. And so I tried to get to the root of that. And the counterintuitive conclusion I came to is, it is precisely because of the chaos of India that companies must try and double down and learn to succeed here. Right. Guess what? You know, as crazy and corrupt as we are, we're exactly like most emerging markets. So you take India's corruption index, it's number 94 on the list, right next to Brazil, Nigeria, Indonesia. You look at ease of doing business, number 132. Again, we're amongst the same crowd. So I'm not saying we should let the government off the hook, but a multinational company that wants to succeed in emerging markets, it needs to they need to find a way to thrive on chaos. And some companies have shown that it is in fact possible. And my thesis is, hey, at least India has a large market and lots of talent, managerial, technical talent. Some of these markets are much smaller. So if you cut your teeth here and you learn to win here, you know, very plausibly, you can take those lessons and that talent pool to other markets. It's going to be a piece of cake. And so that's the counterintuitive proposition.
Why do you think have MNC set the bar so low in India? What could be the reason? At the end of the day, like you said, it's a nation of 1.2 billion people, huge market, the demographic dividend has been much talked about. Why is the bar so low?
Excellent question. I think most MNCs have what I call export mindset. Hey, we've got these great products, let's take it and sell it everywhere. And they come to India, and what happens is they come with their premium products, premium prices, their way of doing business. And for a few years, it's good, because there are a few affluent people. But then pretty soon, that segments get saturated, and they find that, you know, they hit the growth wall. It's what I call the midway trap. Now, if you want to continue to grow, you've got to go down to the messy middle of the pyramid, and that takes a very different mindset, and they're not ready for that. So how most multinationals tend to define success is, we met our budget, okay? Double-digit growth. Now, and so if the industry is growing 10%, if they're growing 12%, they're very happy. They don't look around and see, hey, that guy, whether it's an Indian company or a competitor, is growing 40, 45%. So their definition of success is extremely modest because of this sort of mindset, if you will.
You know, I want to ask you then, what according to you is a successful MNC here in India? Which ones you think have really cracked the code, perhaps even managed to, you know, if not beat them, join them?
Yeah, well, it's always risky to give names, but I know that's what people like.
Yeah.
But there are a handful of companies I really learned to respect. You know, there's old favorite Unilever. They've been doing it for years. They continue to do many things right. I respect them. I love this plucky construction equipment company out of England, which is really not a manufacturing nation anymore. But here comes JCB, and they grab 60% of the construction equipment market in India, trouncing the likes of Caterpillar, which is the 800-pound gorilla of the industry. I like French companies like Schneider Electric and L'Oreal and so forth. Scandinavians are good, you know, AB Volvo, Ericsson, tenacious, you know, they've been around for 100 years in India. I like the Koreans, you know, they do something very different, but they're very successful. LG, Samsung. I like McDonald's. I like my old employer Cummins very much. So across industries, you can find a couple of people, has very little to do with nationality, and they're doing exceedingly well in the same crazy environment.
You know, this is your first book, and I would imagine you're an avid reader. Most authors are, or at least supposed to be. But I have two questions for you. What are you reading right now? Tell us that. And also, do you think that the reading habit is dying out?
Yeah, well, frankly, honestly, for the last 3 months, I've been reading only versions of my own book. But no, as a first-time author, I was shocked to find people no longer read books for the most part. They may buy it and it stays on the shelf. Very few of us read any book cover to cover, let alone a business book.
Ravi Venkatesan, such a pleasure having you in our studios and talking about this book, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's been
you.
a real pleasure.
Okay, there you go. That was Ravi talking to us about his book that, of course, is out on the 17th of this month.